Hello, this is Hazel Jane Tarot, and welcome to part one of my Oracle Collection video series. I had filmed my tarot deck collection in roughly chronological order, in the order that I got them. I'm not doing that for my Oracle decks. They're more just, I've tried to organize them roughly by type, but it's very difficult as with Oracle decks. They're all so different. So I've decided to start off with my favorite Oracle deck. And this is Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid, and the art is by Jenna, so I want to get her name right, Jenna Della Grottaglia, who has collaborated with Colette Baron-Reid on a lot of decks over the last few years, and this is published by Hay House. So I think this was the second Oracle deck that I ever got, and maybe it's my favourite because I've worked with it so much. But it has been for me a very on the nose deck. When I've read with it, it's been very accurate, to the point that sometimes a little too accurate, and sometimes if there's something that you're trying to ignore, this is not the deck to use, because it'll make sure that you pay attention to whatever that is. And it doesn't let you away with much, it has to be said. The deck that I have is gilded, although I have bought it as a gift for friends and theirs wasn't gilded. I don't think it really makes much of a difference. You can see I've shuffled this a lot, so it's a little bit battered. The back is reversible, which is important for this deck actually, unusually for Oracle decks. And the art is absolutely gorgeous. So this deck, just going to show you a few. That one has a little bit of a staining on it, which is weird. That's the only card that does. So there's a lot of balance in this deck. The pictures, while they're very pretty, and there's a lot of pastel colors and pinks and purples and so on. The messaging of this deck isn't all positive and shiny. In fact, it's like, if you look at this orphan card, like there's some really quite confronting messages in it, and it also is designed to be read with reversals, as most of Colette Baron-Reid decks are, I think. So there's a chunky little guidebook that comes with it, and in the guidebook she'll give you an essential meaning, the oracle message, the relationship message, and then a prosperity message. So if you were trying to do a relationship reading or a career reading, there's a different focus slightly given, and then there's a protection message, which is the reversal. And the guidebook, with a lot of Oracle decks, I do find, unless I've used the deck a lot, I will have to refer to the guidebook, because each Oracle system is its own thing. This is a deck I might actually do a full video on, because I really love it. I've used it a lot, so a lot of these cards have personal resonances for me, and I can talk a bit more about what the cards mean and how I use the deck. So I might do that at another time. But if you are new to Oracle and you love tarot, and you want an Oracle deck that has some of the complexity and the light and dark of a tarot deck that you can use in full spreads or kind of 3-card spreads, that kind of thing, this deck is really an excellent kind of all-round Oracle deck. And I always recommend it on, Facebook groups. When somebody's asking for a recommendation of an Oracle deck, I go straight to the Wisdom of the Oracle, because it is my favorite. This is one that I've had much more recently, and this is an independently produced Oracle deck, the Personal Power deck by Deja Druitt. You can see your spelling of her name there. I'll put a link to her website below, because Deja publishes and prints this herself. She also has 2 other Oracle decks, and if you're in the US, you might be particularly interested. I mean, in the UK you have to pay international postage, obviously, which adds to the cost, and then customs and so on when it gets here. But for this deck, I've got to say it was worth it, because it's one I've used a lot. So it comes in this gorgeous little box, and I mean the colors are so pretty, and then it has a little guidebook, and they are small. They're smaller than the average tarot deck, so smaller than a lot of Oracle decks. If I compare to one of the Wisdom of the Oracle you know, you can see it's a lot smaller. I think it's like a poker size card. And it's basically an affirmation deck, which is not something that I have many of. And I've had a few other affirmation decks which I haven't really enjoyed using. But this one, the personal power deck, as you can guess from the title, the affirmations are all about self-esteem and bringing you back into, you know, a sense of personal power. It's a very female focused deck. It's definitely all portrays female characters. I really like this one. I Am Celebrated. This is a self-portrait of the artist, of Deja, which I only realized from following her on Instagram and seeing photographs of her, that's what this was. So we have I am knowledge, I am supported, I am unbreakable, I am blessed, I am a healer, I am divinely guided, I am beautiful. So you can see with these decks, you can put, with this deck, you can pick a card at random and just have the message to sit with you for the day. Or if you were trying to enhance a certain feeling for yourself, you could pick a card intentionally and sit it out as a visual reminder of an affirmation. So it's but it's a lovely deck, and as you can see just from the few that I flicked through there, with the way the images are drawn and the models used and so on, it's quite a diverse deck in terms of race, ability, body type. Most of the characters are young, I would say, but there's a lovely mixture of people shown, and it is a lovely deck to work with, partly for that reason. It has this gorgeous magenta edging, and those are the backs. The little book gives you a bit more on each card, so when you look up a card, there's the affirmation that's attached to it. There's an inspirational quote from somebody else, and then Deja has written a little bit about it, some journal prompts, and there is a description of what she has actually drawn in the image as well, and some keywords. So that is just a lovely deck. The other decks that Deja has created, honestly, if I was in the US and didn't have to pay the international shipping and customs and so on, I probably would have got them already. As it is, I'm waiting. But she's a great deck creator, so I would recommend to check her out. This is another mass market deck, also from Hay House. This is the Work Your Light Oracle from Rebecca Campbell, and the artwork's by Danielle Noel. So Danielle Noel, you'll know from the Moonchild Tarot and the Starchild Tarot, that she has been a completely independent deck creator in her own right. But these collaborations, she's two, I think, decks that were collaborations with Rebecca Campbell. And Rebecca Campbell also has a book, Work Your Light, and another one, Rise Sister Rise, which I have read both of those as well. So there's a sort of broader kind of spiritual teaching from Rebecca Campbell that's sort of attached to this deck if you're interested in going into it. This is a deck that I have had very effective readings with, but yet somehow I'm still a bit ambivalent about, and I don't really understand. I don't really know clearly why, to be honest. As you can see, it's very, very pretty, and the colours are very feminine, and the depictions within the deck are quite feminine as well in terms of the subject matter. It's sort of organised into a few different sections. So there are action cards and inquiry cards. So things like Starseed here, what lights you up? So maybe a question to prompt some journaling or reflection. And then an action card like Fill Your Well, so rest, refuel. And those kind of keywords and questions really do kind of tell their own story. I don't think you need, there's more in the guidebook, but they're pretty straightforward in terms of giving you a message to work with in a reading. And I've found those cards to be quite effective. As you can see, they're really, really lovely. So, but then you move into, some of the cards are kind of like bigger transitional moments in life. I suppose these are nearly like the major arcana of the deck. So awakening, the age of light, birthing a new age. So they're a wee bit more abstract and have a bit more of a broader meaning, like a bigger significance in your life, I guess. And then at the very end of the deck, there are these few that refer to, I guess, past lives or a kind of soul lineage as to where these other realms or other places, Lemuria, Akasha, Pleiades. And I think it requires a certain belief system for those cards to really resonate with you. And I guess there's, there are different, I mean, that's quite Christian imagery there. But, so a card like Leap, is a more straightforward message than Mintakan, the original Lightworkers. The other kind of challenging thing for me with this deck is the way the cards are not numbered, or there's no content. So when you look up a card in the book, they're organized in their little suits. So as I say, you have the confirmation cards, inquiry cards, action cards, activation cards, and transmission cards. So they're ordered in that order. So you kind of have to remember which section of the deck the card comes from, which isn't always completely obvious from what's written on the card. And then, or you just flick through the whole book to find the card. And I think it would have been more helpful if maybe there was an alphabetical index or the cards were numbered so you could find them more easily. I did see recently that, I think it was it, maybe Dawn Michelle at Boho Tarot had taken this deck and the other Rebecca Campbell, Danielle Noel collaboration deck, the name of which I can't remember right now. And she had taken out the cards that didn't really resonate with her and combined the ones that she did like from both of those decks and was using it as one deck, which I think sounds like a really interesting idea. And I might actually go through this deck myself and take out the cards that don't really resonate with my kind of worldview at the moment, and leave in the cards that maybe are more easily for me to work with, and see how the deck works for me then. But it is a lovely deck, and especially if you've read, Work Your Light by Rebecca Campbell, it would be worth checking out. This is a bit of a different cup of tea, this deck by John Holland, the Psychic Tarot of the Heart. This is one that I believe has been around for a long time, and it's another Hay House deck. It's in that lovely hard Hay House box as well. And this is, as the title might suggest, it's based on a tarot. So if you're a tarot reader, this is a really easy read. So they have nice gilded edges, and the borders are color coded depending on the suit. So you can see here, the major arcana are all, I've ordered it just for this video, the major arcana are all in black. The wands are purple, the cups are, is it the cups? Sorry. Are blue. No, the cups are green. The swords are the blue cards, sorry. And then the pentacles are the red cards, I think. And then you have these chakra cards, which I haven't really worked with that much. I'm not somebody who's worked with chakra energy a lot, but so there's no quartz and there's no tens, but you have the minor arcana and the majors, and as you can see, the way the light's catching them is kind of that shiny cardstock. So they're not really called they've changed the names to sort of really simple keyword associated with the meaning of that tarot card. So the Magician is manifest, the High Priestess is listen, the Empress is nurture, the Emperor is lead. And when you read the book, the messages that are expanded here are related to relationships, because this is the Psychic Tarot of the Heart. So this is a fantastic book for love readings or relationship readings, because it kind of gets straight to the matter of how the meaning of that card interacts with the concept of a relationship. I'll show you a few of the minor arcana as well, just to see. So these are the wands. So the Ace of Wands and new vitality. 2, spread your wings. 3, take the lead. 4, joy and stability. So you can see the keywords really simplify what the meaning of the card and relating it to a relationship meaning. The artist, I think, is John Matson, looking at the guidebook here. And I know the art wouldn't be my favorite of all the tarot decks that I have, but I think it's clear and easy to read. There's the 7 of Swords, seek the truth. So you don't have to keep mapping this back against the tarot to read it. Like, you can just read the keywords and the images that you've got in front of you. But if you know the tarot, I think the Psychic Tarot of the Heart is an easy deck to work with. And it is on my list to eventually get the other deck from John Holland, the Psychic Tarot, which I believe came out before this one. Because that's a nice, easy to read deck, I think I would quite enjoy working with the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck as well. This is a more recently printed one. I got this about 2 years ago at Christmas, I think, as a present. The Oracle of the Mystical Moments by Katrin Weltstein. She is working on a tarot deck at the moment, which I'm really looking forward to, because her art is absolutely gorgeous. And this deck is published by US Games. So this is a lovely little deck. It has a small kind of stapled guidebook with short descriptions and meanings in it. But honestly, it's not all that useful, that guidebook. They're very slippery, lovely to handle cards. And they have these nice kind of minty coloured backs. But the art is just gorgeous in this deck. And it is another one that is quite, it's about reading the image intuitively, and that's not the way I normally read. As if you've watched my tarot video, I'm quite analytical in the decks that I like, presenting the symbols in a straightforward way that I can interpret and apply to the question or position in the spread and so on. Whereas working with this deck, it really has encouraged me to look at the image and really think about what that image says to me and how it relates to what I'm trying to read on. And I used this quite solidly when I got it for a month or two and found it really read very, very well. And I got lots of really useful readings from it. So if you are not really an intuitive reader and you'd like to have a go at developing that style of reading, this is a good deck to do that with. So as you can see, you get a name on the card rather than a keyword. So this is Miss Sunshine. And then you've got an image that might spark off some thoughts and reflections. Night Ride. They're just so pretty. I've picked out some of my favorites just to show you at the top here. The Observer. House of Flowers. I pulled this a lot. I remember one week I was doing daily draws with this and I pulled that card every single day. Can you hear me? So again, this is a lovely, lovely, lovely deck. And And when I pulled this out for this video, I realized I hadn't used it in quite a few months, and it is probably in my top 5 Oracle decks, so I should pull it out more often. This is another deck that I really enjoy working with. I think is a really effective deck. This one is really, it says ancient wisdom for the modern world. And it really is about providing guidance, this deck. Comes in quite an elaborate box. I'm not sure if I need all of this in terms of box. So you've got the guidebook, and then you've got another box. And the insert that it's in is that sort of velvet coated plasticky insert, which is, so that's a nice magnetic catch box. But then it's in this little top box as well. And honestly, in terms of giving it some regular use, I would nearly prefer to just keep it in this with the guidebook on the shelf rather than having to take it out of 2 boxes at once. And those are the backs. This is quite different from the normal deck that I would go for, in that I normally go for quite figurative, sort of straightforward images, and this is a bit more abstract and it's very modern. And I really fell in love with it when I came across it on Instagram, and ordered it quite quickly actually after I first saw it. It is mass market a deck, even though it looks kind of like an independent deck, the way the quality of the production. It's by Running Press, I think is the studio that has produced it, and so it's not as expensive as an independent deck, and it's based on this concept of the weighing of the heart. So you kind of have to read the guidebook to give you a bit of an introduction to what's the concept behind the Amenti Oracle, and the how it all works. So it's created by Jennifer Sodini and the art is by Natalie Miller. So I have actually dog-eared the page that indexes the 42 ideals of Mayat that the cards are based on, because this then serves as a contents, because there are no numbers on the card. So I create harmony, so I have to look up this little index and find I create harmony. So there's 25, and then find there's 21, 25, I create harmony. There's the entry. And the entries are, for some of these cards, quite long and involved, and when you read them you do have to sort of think about it, because they're not all described in the same format. You know, for example, there that I listen to opposing opinions is a page and a half, whereas I create harmony, you know, is more like 2.5 pages of description and thoughts to prompt you. And because they're ideals, the 42 ideals of Mayat, they are cards that really advise you on how to live well. And they can be quite challenging, but they are really, I find, quite helpful to work with. So I create harmony, I converse with awareness. So in a sense, it's an affirmation deck, much like the personal power deck earlier, whereas where that was about self-esteem and help and build your own sense of personal power, this is more about kind of living in a moral way. I advance through my own abilities. I invoke laughter. I speak with sincerity. I give offerings that are genuine. So you can see that the images on each card are really very different. I keep my own counsel. And they are quite abstract. I praise the goddess and the god. I embrace the all. But somehow I found drawing a card from this deck and thinking about it and reflecting on it has actually come up with some really, really useful messages. So it is a deck that I like and have worked with quite a lot. this nice matte cardstock, but yet still easy to thumb through, which means a lot to me. I really like a card that a deck that you can easily sort of thumb through to look at all the cards, and they're easy to shuffle. And yeah, so one way that I quite like to read sometimes is to combine decks. So, you know, if you were to use, say, something like the Wisdom of the Oracle to give you your basic reading, you could also use a card from the Amenti Oracle to give some advice, and you know, a card from the Personal Power deck to give you an affirmation and to help with self-confidence, and you know, and combine them in that way can sometimes work really well. But anyway, I could say a lot more about all of these decks, but I'll stop there because I don't want any of these videos to be over 30 minutes. But thank you for watching. As I say, this is part 1 of 4 of my Oracle deck collection. So please come back and watch the rest of the series, and hit the subscribe button if you don't want to miss them. Thank you. Bye-bye.